Well, hello and welcome to this very latest LigoLab webinar, something that we do on a pretty regular basis, something we really look forward to, myself and Allison in particular, especially when we get a chance to talk to somebody within the industry, talking about some of the challenges and some of the solutions that they've come up with to help their lab run more efficiently, more productively, and more profitably. Topic for today's webinar: how standardization and enhanced reporting capabilities improve lab workflow and overall business operations. We are going to talk some big picture, but we're also going to focus in on Pathology Consultants and how they've, over the last 3 years, leveraged modern LIS technology to achieve their major business goals, and how other labs and other lab operations can do the same. So I'll kick off the webinar by saying my name is Michael. I am part of the communications and marketing team at LigoLab. Very pleased to have both Kristie and Allison with us. Kristie, LIS System Administrator at Pathology Consultants. Kristie, we'll start with you. Just kind of give us a little introduction about yourself, what your role is with Pathology Consultants, and then we can go to Allison.
Yeah, I've been with Pathology Consultants for about 22 years, so a long time with this group. Currently, I am the LIS Administrator, and my background, I have an educational background in health information technology and healthcare administration. Over the years, I've had various roles in this organization, usually centered around health information, coding, billing, and some of the operational departments that we have here. In 2020 to 2021, I was the project manager for our implementation of LigoLab, and that led me to my current role.
All right, well, welcome. We appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Allison, the floor is yours.
Allison Still. I've been working with LigoLab for about 9 years, and the product manager here for the LIS now. And before that, I used to work in the laboratory that underwent a project to implement LigoLab, and I helped with that. So yeah, it's nice to have that laboratory background, having these kinds of conversations.
That's wonderful. Thanks for joining. So let's talk about something that anybody within the lab industry probably is already aware of, but we should discuss a little bit about why we're here today and what lessons hopefully will be learned after the course of this webinar. Rising costs, falling margins, increased regulations, personnel shortages, makes you wonder why anybody would want to get into the laboratory industry in some ways. Of course, the folks that work in laboratories are the real heroes within the medical healthcare industry, and we do appreciate what they're able to do despite these challenges, these headwinds. Kristie, maybe just give us a sense of what things are like and how Pathology Consultants is taking on these challenges and still being successful. General overview.
Yeah, like many organizations and especially laboratories, I think we all experience a lot of the same challenges. And from rising costs to our supplies and equipment costs to even utilities have been challenging. We always are getting threatening, Medicare reductions, and this year especially, it makes it difficult to maintain financial stability. And then you always have compliance and regulations that require your time and resources and can be an administrative burden.
Is there any one challenge that in particular Pathology Consultants is most concerned about? Or let's flip the question and say that, due to hard work and partnerships, you've been able to overcome despite the challenge?
Yeah, I think staffing has been one area that we've really improved with bringing in LigoLab to our organization, because we were kind of coming out of the COVID times where staffing was really difficult. So we were not at capacity for staffing. And so experiencing some of the efficiencies that we have has really helped us.
So success backed by technology, forward-thinking labs like Pathology Consultants, taking matters into their own hands, if you will, and taking control and independence of their operations to enhance workflow and reporting capabilities. About 3 years ago, in fact, the partnership between Pathology Consultants and LigoLab started. Next, we'll get into a little bit of that. But first, how about this? Serving Western Oregon since 1932. So Pathology Consultants has been around and really been a beacon of success and healthcare in that region for nearly 100 years. Ran its business with a shared laboratory information system for several years before making the decision to transition to the LigoLab platform and gain that independence and better control. Kristie, just give us a sense of what things were like, why the shared laboratory information system, and then why ultimately the change, looking for more independence and control with your own LIS system.
Yeah, I think utilizing the shared system became one of our pain points in that we lacked control of the system. So if we wanted to add additional testing or reconfigure the way we were reporting something, we just didn't have the ownership of the software to be able to make those changes. So that was difficult for us. We had the desire to grow our organization, and part of that was to expand our clinical test menu. So that became a focus for us as well. And the system that we were on didn't have the capacity to do the clinical side. So those were kind of our two main driving forces and looking for something different.
All right. And then a good segue into, so you kind of knew what you needed, what you were looking for to ultimately be successful. Then the evaluation of LIS systems and vendors comes into play. Give us a sense of how that happened, what the approach for Pathology Consultants was to make sure you got the best system for your team and your growth goals.
Yeah, we started, I think, with a slower approach. But at one point, the other organization that we shared a system with, they had decided that they were going to move to another product. And so that gave us a timeline, an increased timeline. So we were very serious about, what our options were. We could stay with the organization and share another system, which still wasn't going to give us the clinical side of things. And then we also looked at different products that, including separating our clinical and AP systems. And we ended up falling on LigoLab as a great all-in-one product that was configurable and gave us a lot of options.
So one system for pathology workflow, one system for clinical workflow. Allison involved in the implementation side of things, I believe, and also probably when it came to support over the last couple of years. Tell me a little bit, Allison, about your relationship with Kristie, Pathology Consultants, and start with the implementation and then kind of work your way toward where we are now.
Yeah, I was one of the team members that worked on Pathology Consultants implementation. So we would have several calls almost every day of the week. Since they're such a large organization, we'd have like specialized like department calls, right? So like molecular one day, gyne cytology one day, and so on with like different teams. Kristie was usually on all of them as the project manager, and they were just really great to work with. It was so great they had, the time to work on that with us. Not all clients, have the resources to be able to do that. So that was really nice. And they were just really receptive to learned to be able to, make those customizations themselves. I think implementation was about 9 months, I think, for Pathology Consultants. And then for Go Live, myself and Petros went out there, the other member of their implementation team, and we were there for a few days on site while they went live. Petros, actually, while we were there, commented that it was one of the smoothest Go Lives we've ever had, which I definitely think is a testament to Pathology Consultants team and their active involvement throughout the entire process. And yeah, they're just so great to work with. After that, yeah, we had support ongoing. And I think she's going to talk about some of the new testing that was implemented after go live. Yeah.
I'll go back to Kristie, 20 plus years in this industry. You've, I'm guessing, worked with multiple systems. Were you surprised when you went through the evaluation process about what type of features and capabilities were available now, or had you kind of kept an eye on what was available all along and had a pretty good sense of what you needed and what was out there?
Yeah, I think it was really exciting as we were going through the process to realize we could, especially coming from where we were with very little control over kind of manipulating some of those configurations and customizations. So it was really exciting for us. And so anytime we heard, yes, we can do that, it was great. And it was really nice to have the support of the team that walked us through everything as we built.
Wonderful. High-level keys to business growth. So better communication, higher productivity, simplified workflow. Kristie, I'll give you a chance to weigh in here. And these are big picture statements. Maybe you can get into a little bit more of the granular side of things. Starting with communication, how communication improved once the the modern LIS system was implemented into your workflow.
Our organization, we have our own laboratory as well as the professional side of the business. So sometimes you can see some silos in between different departments and teams. And so I think this system has really helped us with communicating just via the software, being able to tag different specimen types and identify them utilizing the site manager, and then also the workflow actions has helped us to be able to communicate across teams when we're not in the same room or even in the same building sometimes.
Allison, maybe explain to the group here workflow actions and what that means from a LigoLab point of view.
Yeah, workflow actions are kind of like a flag or a task that the lab can create their own, like, which ones are most useful for them. But one of the main purposes is to eliminate any like manual work happening outside of the LIS, like any Excel spreadsheets they're having to keep, any like manual notes. So I think they definitely facilitate communication, but one of the frequent uses is for like quality, right? So let's say during grossing, they encounter an issue. Instead of having to write it down or call someone right then, they can add a workflow action, and then they continue doing their work, and then all the grossing issues or workflow actions can be handled together. And of course, yeah, like it's all documented and saved forever in the LIS.
Kristie, do you have an example of higher productivity that you could share?
Probably with utilizing our workflow actions, we kind of like Allison mentioned, we're able to free up the accessioners or grossers when they do identify an issue that may be a client issue. And instead of them having to stop what they're doing and unglove and get to a phone to call the client or get someone to help them with whatever the issue is, they're able to utilize those workflow actions and keep moving on their grossing or their accessioning. So that helps streamline things.
And then Allison, when we talk about simplified workflow, is this a case where having clinical and also pathology modules within one software infrastructure, one software database, is that something that really contributes to this? That, along with automation, really contributes to this idea of simplified workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real asset to be able to have those in the same application, not be toggling back and forth, just, yeah, easier for all the users. And of course, the patient history, right? Pathology Consultants has like hematology cases where they have a CBC going through the clinical lab, and then, slides going to the pathologist. So having those all together and is really helpful.
Let's dive a little deeper into Pathology Consultants workflow in particular. We highlighted in a conversation prior to this webinar some of the points, some of the areas where advanced functionality has really made a difference for pathology consultants. Kristie, discuss customization and how that has opened up options, multiple options for you in your team.
This was an area we found really exciting because we were able to see a lot of the benefit of utilizing these things in the system. We initially focused our templating efforts on our derm path work because it was a high volume and we were seeing a lot of repetitive diagnoses and microscopic descriptions, and thought that that would be a good area to start in. So we have connected microscopic diagnoses to the final diagnoses and added connecting the diagnostic codes with the CPT codes. And we've seen big time efficiencies in our coding group, our audit group, where we were already struggling with staffing, and we were able to start meeting our productivity, goals by utilizing the efficiencies. And our dermatopathologists noticed pretty quickly that they were saving some time in their day. They were having some really long days before we implemented LigoLab, and they were finding that they were getting done with their workload a couple of hours earlier in the day, which was great for them.
Automated coding, CPT, and ICD-10 sounds great. If you're a laboratory that doesn't have such a thing at this time, can you kind of go into a little detail there, Kristie, and then probably Allison as well, as to how it works within the system?
Yeah, we've been able to utilize some of the automation and rules configurations to make our coding a little bit easier. One that comes to mind is we have an automation set up for our flow reporting. And so we have some calculations working in the background that count the markers and check for duplicate markers and add all of that information up. If you've ever done coding on flow reports, it can be a little tricky to just manually have to look at the documentation to see what was done and make sure you're capturing all the charges. So we have our flow reporting almost completely automated, so it saves our coding staff a lot of time on the back end.
That's fantastic. Synoptic reporting support. I think, Kristie, maybe you can talk a little bit about that. And then I know Allison, I think she's prepared to show the software and give everybody a look at how it works within the system.
We have found a lot of benefits using the synoptic reporting. The obvious is that we're meeting the CAP compliance in our reporting. And some of the other things that we've noticed is that we've been able to utilize those data elements to meet other compliance standards. We can export that data easily to produce reports and extract data for like our MIPS reporting. So we've been able to utilize it in a lot of different ways. And then, of course, you can still attach your CPT codes, your ICD-10 codes to make that all a little bit more efficient as well.
Allison, if you are prepared, I will stop my share and let you take over.
Yeah. Okay. So this is our demo environment. On the left is the result manager where pathologists can enter their result and various tabs of other things. And this is a floating report preview. So to use the synoptic reports in our system, they'll be tied to like a macro, which I'm going to pick from the pick list here, but you could just enter the abbreviation, which you configure, or dictate it, which I think Pathology Consultants does a lot. But when we choose a macro linked to the CAP synoptic report, then what I call the wizard will open. And in this, so these will be imported from CAP, so they're completely up to date with whatever questions they're asking, if what should be required and optional, and I kind of guide you through. So the red X is missing required, and when you fill it in, it gets the green check mark, letting you know that you've filled it in sufficiently. And the yellow plus signs are optional. And when you're done, you can just click OK, and it'll all be added in to the result window behind.
So this is great. What happens if you don't have this option? Is it done manually on like an Excel document, or
They
how
would
would?
probably just type it in directly, like they would
Oh,
maybe pull it up on CAP's website
okay.
and reference it, and then have to type it in manually. And they do make changes quarterly, which pretty frequently. So you just have to make sure to keep up to date on all of like their latest recommendations.
Thank you for sharing. Give me 1 second here. And we will move on to a topic that's related: data standardization and consistency, consistent data flow across all departments and providers, better documentation, enhanced lab billing accuracy. So that's something that should catch everybody's attention. Better lab billing accuracy, which probably translates into more consistent cash flow. The other thing I've noted down, Kristie, is what the impact has been in terms of standardization and your customers. Can you kind of describe how those improvements have impacted your relationship, positively impacted your relationships with the customers that you work with?
Yeah, we've actually heard from some of our clients that they do appreciate the standardization that they're seeing in some of our results because it helps them easily identify the information that they're looking for. I mentioned that our coding and audit teams have benefited, but how that kind of has translated into dollars is that they're able to identify the technical work that has been performed and documented more easily when it's not scattered about in different areas of the report. By standardizing your documentation, you're able to more accurately identify all the stains that you performed, all the additional workup that you may have done on the case so that you can capture those charges. And then we always like pleasing our clients by providing them with any improvements that we can.
This was referenced earlier. I think this is one of the most exciting things to talk about: the expanded test offerings, taking previously sent out tests, keeping them in-house, and how that has positively affected the bottom line, strengthened client relationships, sped up turnaround times. So 3 years ago, Kristie, your partnership starts with LigoLab and Allison. When did it become clear that, oh yeah, we can do this as we planned? We can start adding these tests, and what went into checking and understanding the feasibility of it before finally pulling down the trigger?
I think right away we identified tests that were a high priority for us to bring in-house, that made sense for us to bring them in-house. We were motivated by the oncology group here in Oregon that we work with. We're close partners with them, and they were vocal to us about tests that they would like to see improved turnaround times on, and that they would like kind of an all-in-one facility to send their material to get their results. So we had some tests in mind and worked on some of those during our initial implementation, and then quickly got up to speed adding some of those additional, like those PCR tests, the EGFR, the MSI, and the BRAF pretty quickly afterwards.
Allison, did you have any involvement on the expanded test offerings?
Our support department was the main point of contact on this project, but I did assist them a little bit. Yeah.
from a staffing point of view, how was staff affected by this? Was more staff needed to bring on this testing? Were current staff repositioned to other positions? Kind of give us a sense of the work behind the scenes to make this a reality.
Our state of staffing was a little bit pained because of the kind of COVID times that we were coming out of, and it was just difficult to recruit and retain qualified staff. So our send out department, we saw a pretty big impact because we had, I think we had about 4 FTE working just in our send out side of, the pulling of the blocks, the packaging stuff up, and keeping track of return materials and return results. And so not even going into kind of some of the billing and financial pain points, we pretty immediately saw a quick reduction in our staffing there. So we were able to redirect the staff that we had in the sendouts team to doing other things, which really helped us a lot.
That's really good. So you've accomplished a lot over the course of 3 years. You and your team deserve a lot of credit. In fact, I believe in a previous discussion, you mentioned that there were some that resisted change, or there was a bit of resistance, but you and your team and the system were able to overcome that. Now, where things are and where is Pathology Consultants headed? Maybe kind of an idea of what the folks, the leaders of your team are thinking about. What might be the next steps as far as improving particular departments, improving client relations?
We're continuing to focus on quality improvements and process improvements, of course. We do want to continue to expand our test menu, so there are always exciting tests on the horizon that we're looking out for. We have some also high volume tests that we send out, so we keep an eye on those as well and see if those are feasible to bring in. So we've looked at a couple of different tests that we might want to bring in, some fish testing or additional PCR testing. But we really want to look at our GI specimens and try to capitalize on the templates that we've utilized in our derm path work and see if we can make that site a little bit more efficient as well, and see if we can gain some of that efficiency there.
Allison, an LIS Product Specialist, part of your job is talking with the people that use the system on the daily basis and garnering feedback and understanding what could help them improve their workflows even more. So not just necessarily pathology consultants, but from your position, what value does that feedback have as far as our development arrangement with LigoLab and how things come about? I mean, everybody always wants something yesterday, but how does customer feedback, maybe the best way to say this is customer feedback, directly affect the development roadmap?
Yeah, it affects it very much. I mean, almost all the new features we develop are because one of our clients requested it, right? Yeah, so it's crucial. One of the features we're looking at implementing right now is for peer review. It's something we've used workflow actions for in the past, which I touched on the workflow action functionality, but because it is such a kind of dedicated special workflow that more and more clients are wanting to implement, we want to develop a devoted feature for it.
All right. Let's segue into questions from the audience. If you've been on these webinars before, you can submit your questions via the Zoom application at the bottom of your screen. One came in, this one for Kristie. What do the pathologists think about the system? One thing we often hear about is user-friendly interface. Is it user-friendly? What type of features do they have that help them minimize clicks? General feeling of the pathologists once they got used to the system and how they felt about the system maybe originally and how they feel about it now?
We were pretty lucky with our group. I think our pathologists were ready for the change. They were ready for something different and something that would improve their organization. So they've been pretty good about the changes and the differences that they're seeing in their workflow. But they've also, I think, enjoyed that they're able to ask for some things in the system that we can accommodate by customization. And the LigoLab staff has been great at getting back to us in a timely way and continuing to work with us when our pathologists do want to see something a little bit different in their view. So I wouldn't say that we've had any outstanding issues there. I think they've all been pretty happy with how it works, and with our, especially with our dermatopathologists, and some of our other areas have seen some efficiencies as well. They have been able to reduce their time at the scope by some of the efficiencies of the system, just getting them through their workday a little bit faster.
Here's a question for Allison. How much, if at all, does LigoLab help clients with templating and report customization to two elements that were mentioned a little bit earlier?
A lot. Usually the first reports that are built during implementation are built by us, and then we will show the client how we did it so that they can customize it themselves in the future. Typically when there are new assays like the EGFR that she mentioned, then yeah, we will do those as well, unless the client wants to. We support them being as independent and configuration heavy as they would like. But yeah, it's something we're very accustomed to doing for sure.
Kristie, can you compare the current system with some of the other systems that you've worked with in the past?
Oh, it really does not compare. I think it is a pretty robust system in that you can kind of take it as far as you want to take it. Allison had said that they can be very involved in helping with templates. And I think that's one thing that we really appreciated about their model, is that I can get one of them on the phone or on a virtual share, and they'll walk me through how to do something, maybe once, twice, or 10 times if I need it. And they have helped me to be able to kind of own some of the configuration myself, so that we're not reliant on their vendor services all the time. But that's also up to the client. I think that you have that option of, you don't have to necessarily have your own LIS administrator to kind of get in the weeds of your system. You can reach out to their support desk and get help with what you need help with.
That's interesting. So would you call yourself a LigoLab super user? Or would you
yeah.
give us okay, yeah.
I think she is. I hereby designate you a Ligo super user.
But the key is, I guess, you don't have to be necessarily, because there is the support that's available. And then it's also maybe one area to talk about is the workflow queues, right? So it's kind of set up to be really centric for your particular department or your particular role. Maybe Allison, you can describe how that works, how the system allows that to happen.
The role specific queues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all our queues are real time, which is one advantage, right? So if you have, I don't know, multiple grocers, which most labs do, they're working out of the same queue. And as soon as one of them processes one of the samples, it'll come off the queue for everyone. So that's an advantage. Yeah, we like to just streamline things so everyone is exactly where they need to be when they need to be there.
Might have been touched on a little bit earlier, but here's a question. What LIS improvements are out there? What's the next step? The buzzword really is, machine learning, AI. How would a system like LigoLab take on these new tools, if you will, to aid Kristie and her staff in their daily workflow?
We definitely have some projects related to AI going on. Our CEO, Saren, is very passionate about that and however we can leverage that. So the engineers are working on that, yeah, how they could um, read the free text to diagnosis and then based on that, like recommend an ICD. Um, and similar with CPT, right? The logic would be slightly different. Um, Other features we're looking at, yeah, it's like the peer review, like I mentioned. More inventory enhancements for clients that want to track like their supplies within the LIS. Um, yeah, those are some of the things.
All right. Last question. I'll give it to Kristie. It's that time of year where we're kind of like looking back and looking forward to 2025. Um, from your seat at Pathology Consultants, what do you see as being a big issue in 2025? It can be related specifically to Pathology Consultants, or it can just be industry related overall. Kind of put you on the spot, but let's.
Oh, yeah. We have looked at, of course, the Medicare cuts for laboratory services are, we're concerned about that. So we want to continue to be efficient and streamline our workflows and our processes and try to be mindful about where we're going in the future. Our organization specifically, we are continuing to look to expand our services. So we'll continue to look at what tests are needed in our community and what makes sense for us to bring in-house to add to our test menu. We have recently added the client portal that LigoLab offers, and many of our clients are benefiting from that. So we will probably see some growth there as well. Off the top of my head, those are kind of the big ones.
Okay. I'll let Allison weigh in on the provider portal, LigoLab Connect as well. I know you've had a lot of involvement with development and improvements there.
Yeah, we are definitely working hard on enhancing our physician portal, but also related to the web, we are working towards allowing pathologists sign out from the web. That's a request we get pretty frequently to allow pathologists to sign out from a tablet to be more remote, more on the move. So yeah, that's something we hope to do very soon, next year.
All right. Well, we have reached the end. I like to give folks an opportunity to have like the last word if they in fact do. I also put up not only the thank you here, but QR codes with direct email access to both Allison and Kristie. If you were a little shy today and you didn't ask a question and you want to have a question asked of each Allison or Kristie directly, here is your opportunity. Feel free to use the QR codes on your screen to do so. Last word, I'll give Allison the opportunity first. Anything that we might not have covered yet that you think might be useful for those that have attended?
Nothing that comes to mind. Thank you all for attending. Hope everyone got something out of it.
Happy holidays. How's that?
Yeah, happy holidays.
Especially in the laboratory industry. It sure seems like November's especially busy month for a lot of the people that we work with. Kristie, can you attest to that? Where does November rank as far as busy?
It's very busy around here.
Right.
Everyone going to the doctor, trying to get in the doctor before their insurance at the end of the year.
Yeah, good point. Kristie, any final words? Anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
Nothing that comes to mind.
All right. Well, thank you very much for you both, for the folks that attended. We will, in a couple of days, have this webinar on demand on our website. And as always, if there is a particular topic that interests you that you'd like to see turned into a webinar, here's your opportunity. In fact, I'll volunteer Allison. We've got Allison's email address up here. Directly ping Allison in her email and say, this is what I would like to see for a webinar next time coming from LigoLab. All right. With that, thank you again for everything that Allison and Kristie have contributed here and for the audience for taking the time to listen and learn. And until next time, I'm Michael. That's goodbye from LigoLab.